Oh, hello there. Would you like to hear another story and another introspection upon others that critique my dear beloved childish simpleton? Why don't you take a seat right there in that lovely chair, and today we will talk about some interesting things regarding other people that do the same craft as I. Now, for our very first introspection of retrospection, where we should review the reviewer in a review style, we should be talking about, of course, the most important one for the metal reviewing community, one that has inspired many in a way that I would actually say is negative. The most important one that you should not follow and look at as what not to do. A man that, with every strain of hair that feathers from his head, falls to the ground, and so falls another piece of his credibility. Another piece of shit that is spewed onto his channel as that hair smacks onto the pavement. We, of course, are going to talk about Mark, the cover killer of nations. And let's preface this by saying, Nation, this shall be a channel review.
Jingle bells, time to talk about Coverkillernation. Yum yum nom nom yum yum nom. Yum yum nom nom yum yum nom. Yum yum nom nom yum yum.
Now, the media reviewing community, when it comes to movies, music, video games, has been around for a while. But none of that would have ever happened if it wasn't for one man, one legend that struck onto YouTube and onto the internet when it was just fresh in the mid-2000s. We're, of course, talking about James Rolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd, that was original and was very good at crafting videos. He actually put time into editing. He constantly got better, got a bigger budget, was funnier, made more jokes, became less shy. But even since his inception, he had one hell of a charismatic personality. And because of a giant like James Rolfe, he inspired a generation of people to review stuff like him, and he even branched off doing movie reviews on his website and whatnot, and game reviews, which spawned people that were even arguably bigger than him, someone like Angry Joe, Spoony One, the Nostalgia Critic, all these people that were very close to him. And from the Nostalgia Critic spawned an entire website and a giant movie reviewing community and media reviewing community, comic book reviewing, game reviewing, all of it. It just became a massive amalgam of other people essentially aping the Angry Video Game Nerd style. Now, how does this at all connect with the Cover Killer of Nations? Well, Coverkillernation directly cites James Rolfe as his biggest inspiration, because although movie and video game reviews were already popular and in full force this time, music reviewing was pretty much pioneered. No one had even tried it for the most part. So a man named Mark alone set out to test the waters of music reviewing community. It wasn't that good at the start, but hey, he had to start somewhere. And this Cover Killer of Nations planted the seeds to what would become the music reviewing community. Now, Cover Killer, connecting back to, of course, the Angry Video Game Nerd, he actually originally had a few other names before he stuck with Coverkillernation, a name that actually kind of makes no fucking sense, but it honestly doesn't matter. Names are not the problem here. But he actually started with a name as the Angry Music Nerd, which is totally original and definitely not a copy of the Angry Video Game Nerd, and definitely was not inspired in his ranting style of the Angry Video Game Nerd at all. No, his style was completely out of left field. But what we know is the Coverkillernation channel started around May 25th, 2010. And some of those earliest videos are still there, but a lot of them are gone due to copyright claims or deleting them. And what you'll notice if you watch those early reviews is that they're horrible low quality, and he's not hiding his horrible buggish eyes. and his hair is not thinning yet. However, giving credit where credit's due, I have to say though that the early days of Coverkillernation, for what they were, because everyone's early days are terrible, his early days were fairly good. He was actually pretty charismatic, although his rants were totally copying the angry video game nerd in every single way, in every single mannerism. It was just fake ranting that, you know, he's just pretending like he's angry, but it's not very believable at all.
No. No! No! No!
But you know what? No one else was doing it. He was testing the waters. They were raw, lazy, unedited, but the seeds were planted, and he was funny.
No!
And his early run even had some classic videos. No one else had a video bashing Saint Anger for however fucking long that video was. Just bashing it and saying how shitty it was. And no one really knew how to review music. How the fuck do you review music? You just sit there and say it's good or it's bad. You know, with a movie you could talk about specific scenes or acting, but this you have to talk about musicianship or production and whatnot. But he found a style and a way of doing it. So honestly, in this early stage, the only real big problems were his horrible, hard to look at eyes, his horrible video and audio quality, and his constant smoking, which was really distracting. And most importantly though, in this era, he had a full head of hair, and everything was fine and dandy. And because of him making this big splash in the pond, the splash went on the shores and began seedening the flowers that would grow on the beach, which this metaphor makes no fucking sense. His reviews were, well, they were primitive and vague, but eventually he told you if it was good or not. But then this lazy legend would go through a constant rocky period through his mid-era and even worse during his later era. A long and windy road of missteps that would lead to a hair flaking off with each terrible decision. Now here's where we get to the true critiques. Now, I will say a good plus during the middle era of Coverkillernation is, of course, the video quality went up. It's still not the best thing ever, but the video and audio quality aren't recorded on a fucking baked potato. And he finally put on sunglasses to shade his horrific eyes. But the vague reviews were becoming unfucking tolerable. He would trail off endlessly and hardly talk about the music and maybe sprinkle you with vague facts. For instance, if you reviewed the Megadeth classic Rust in Peace, instead of bringing up an interesting fact that, you know, Chris Oliva from Savatage auditioned, or that Dimebag Darrell from Pantera had auditioned to play on that album, he would sprinkle in just random facts. When in all honesty, it's like, well, you could have just found the facts he sprinkles on Wikipedia, and it's not like there's, you know, really interesting underground facts that he's bringing up. And it's not like he's bringing up all the facts. He doesn't bring up all the lineup. He skips over a lot of important information just to lazily remember a few facts like, oh, here's this and here's that.
Why is this album so good? Well, a lot of it has to do with the material, don't get me wrong, but part of it also has to do with the history involved. And what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to collide those two together. I'm going to give you guys a history lesson, and I'm also going to tell you exactly why this album is just as good as people crack it up to be. Let's turn back the clock. Let's go back to the past. Let's go back about 21 years. They're being overshadowed by the popularity of another genre, metal history. Quote-unquote metal. So the second wave of one that's debatable. Something that's been full force. Megadeth comes out of metal band on glamour and
Shut up! Oh my God, I don't care!
And speaking of trailing off the road endlessly without even talking about the music, which you're lucky if he even does, I will never forget the review he did for 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by Dream Theater, where the entire review was him talking about some trip to the fucking mountains.
I remember whenever I got this album, I was listening to it on a car ride with my family. We were going to the mountains that were very close by here, to a local resort just to kind of explore and remove my focus. You couldn't remove it at all until we finally reached our destination, which, strangely enough, and this is something I remember to this day, the minute that I walked out of the car, the minute that I stepped and I hit the ground, I was changed. It was something that brought a lot of marveling at the musical abilities of these gentlemen.
This story hogged a considerable amount of the video and added absolutely nothing. In fact, a lot of those Dream Theater reviews, in fact, a lot of his reviews in this mid-period were completely pointless and went nowhere. At the end of each one of them, I was thinking to myself, wow, I learned nothing. I just got his vague opinion on the album. He just says, it's good. Or, it's okay. It's like, well, Jesus Christ, you didn't need to take 10 fucking minutes of just drawing out time with endless filler nonsense to tell us that. Another problem with the Cover Killer of Nations is he does these annual band tournaments where he puts a huge list of bands together and has people vote for which band versus which band until one victor arises, and that band is the one that Coverkillernation does. The problem is that he never, ever finishes them. He's only halfway through the Rush discography, and instead of eventually finishing them, he just continues onwards and onwards. In fact, he even throws in bands in the brackets that he's already done before. Now, him not editing or putting any sort of evolution or thought or any effort into his videos was cute and nice at one time, but everyone needs to change at some point, right? Even the angry video game nerd wised up and did that. That way, when everyone became inspired by him, they're like, not only do I copy his early shit, but I try to become good like he did. And eventually, that's how a lot of these people like Angry Joe kind of become different. In other words, the angry music nerds, aka Coverkillernation, never fucking evolved and instead just continued doing shitty, horribly made videos, just copying the angry video games nerds' ranting style. I mean, come on, dude, it's pretty admirable you can one-take the whole thing, but put some fucking effort into it. Jesus Christ. It's been how many goddamn years and you're still just doing lazily one-taked fucking videos? Now, CKN also made the terrible misstep and the horrific sin of trying to review material that everyone knows is awful. Trying to do pop reviews. Like, come on. It is the cheapest grab for childish humor. People going like, haha, you bashed that Justin Bieber music. Coverkillernation, you're the best.
What's up, nation? I just got done smoking some pretty good shit, and smoking some pretty good shit, smoking some pretty good shit.
When in all reality, it's just a cheap pandering ploy. And speaking of pandering, Jesus Christ, CKN has become a pandering machine no matter what he's doing. Especially when it comes to his reviews, where he's very clearly afraid of backlash. That's why all of his album reviews are now really, really high scores unless everyone hates the album. Even Dream Theater's The Astonishing, which later he said he didn't like it. Even the review, he said it's not that good, but you know what? I'm going to give it a 90 out of 100. Which, by the way, out of 100, what the fuck is that? It's not like it's an accumulated score out of 100%, like a bunch of people, like Rotten Tomatoes or some shit. He's literally giving stuff out of 100. That is some next level autistic shit.
Overall, this is a disc that is a lot to digest. It can sometimes be a bit difficult to digest, and I know that many casual fans are going to find this to be perhaps the penultimate challenge of their music listening career. It's going to be rough, but that being said, it is still a tremendous work, one that really blends the idea of progressive music and musical theater and stage work to new elements, to new heights. This actually takes that concept to the logical next step, and perhaps to the logical final step, where they might as well just write the damned play. 90 out of 100. As I said, this does have some flaws on it, but aside from that, this is a masterfully executed album, a very big risk, but if there's any band that can handle this risk and somehow come out of it smelling like roses and their farts smelling like daisies, it's Dream Theater.
And he's also been pandering with a lot of these other series that he tried to start. Now, even though I said he hasn't really innovated at all, that's kind of not true. He tried doing some different things, but all the series that he thought of were really fucking stupid, terrible ideas that were just more pandering. He did this stupid series called What If, where it's like, ooh, what if this musician died instead of this musician? It's like, it's the stupidest fucking series.
What if the tables were turned? What if it was the other way around? What if it was instead Varg that ended up killed after the dispute that took place that evening?
Let's find out.
He also has another series called 5 Reasons, where he talks about 5 reasons why people hate X artist, and he's always just picking more pandering pop stuff, like, ooh, 5 reasons people hate Linkin Park, number one, they write rap music, essentially. And none of his reasons are even really well or thought out, and a lot of them actually aren't really big reasons why people don't like the band. Or his reasons are super simplified, and he doesn't even go into much detail, making the video seem extremely lazy.
Here are 5 reasons why people hate Linkin Park, and we're going to start with number 5. Number 5 is kind of unfair, granted. Recent events, Minutes to Midnight sucked. Because it's an emo meme, they want nothing to do with emo. This goes back to that idea. So they immediately distance themselves from Linkin Park. Number 3, Chester's voice and Chester's lyrics. Number 2, the metal debate and the new metal effect. Number 1, it's very formulaic and the band follows trends.
And the most confusing of these series that he started is relevant or ridiculous. I don't even know what the fucking point of this series is. Can't stuff be relevant and ridiculous? And wouldn't it make more sense to do a series where it's like shit or not? Or how about relevant or not, or ridiculous or not? How is relevant and then ridiculous the opposites of each other? It makes no fucking sense. Lamb of God, are they relevant or are they ridiculous? Wouldn't it be relevant or not, ridiculous or not, you stupid balding fuck? Another heinously anus act of CKN was drawing a lot of attention to himself when he was acting like he was going to quit. Like in his CKN style, he was being extremely vague about it, so everyone was taking it very seriously. This might be the end of CKN, or at least an end for a very long while. Yeah, he came back like a couple days later, and then everyone's making fucking videos about, oh my god, CKN's gone, and he made it sound all dramatic and shit. He was literally gone for a couple days. If he didn't make that video, no one would have gave a shit anyways. His laziness has carried over horrifically into the modern day, where he had recently literally made a video called Hey, where he says, just listen to this album, because he's so fucking lazy he can't even make a goddamn review for it.
Oh, hey there. Listen, you need to listen to Twilight Force's Tales of Ancient Prophecies. Holy shit. Okay. Let me know.
And the sad thing is that instead of focusing more efforts on better equipment or better videos or innovation, he's essentially turning the Coverkillernation brand into a cash cow. Now, CKN has pissed off a lot of people with his shitty, lazy content that just seems to get worse and worse, and his disgusting, balding hairline that just becomes more and more hard to look at. But his biggest offense that everyone will agree on is, of course, the main reason why I made this video. Now, I can just sit here and shit on his horrible content all day, and it'd be fun and fucking funny, but there is some really fucked up stuff that Mark does that I really just have to call out here. I know I said this isn't an expose or anything like that, but everyone that's not basically milking his dick will say that this really needs to stop, Mark. And that is the whole capitalizing off of dead musicians. As if the pandering wasn't bad enough, he started making these panderish videos about, you know, RIP this musician or this person, and there's just like fucking 10 minutes of him saying like this person died. It's like, well, you didn't need to make it this fucking long and be this vague and fucking go on and on and on forever. But it just became worse and worse and worse. You started to realize that all these RIP videos were getting shitloads of views, and they were all monetized. And you should know, Mr. Mark, that monetizing videos about people dying is fucked up. You can sit here and justify all you want every time I've called you out on it on your fucking live stream, on your Facebook. And you could just sit there and say, well, the news does it, as if that somehow makes it better, or give me this dumbass vague response on your live stream.
Take the ads off the rip video. You know what? No, that's alright. Because if you are going to just look at that and not give a damn about the actual content, why should I? Clearly you're distracted by something that's completely meaningless, that you're just going to click off anywhere, use ad block in order to, shift away. And that's your principal complaint? That's alright. That's okay. That's okay. I don't think I'll do that. In fact, See you later. Bye-bye. Flush this audio down the toilet. Hey, good luck with your review. Good luck with your career. See ya. You have a nice day. Goodbye.
But it doesn't change the fact of how fucking douchey it is, especially when it honestly, a lot of the time, seems like you didn't really give a shit about the person. I understand making an RIP video if that person really meant something to you growing up. Like if I did an RIP video on Elton John, because he pretty much formed the basic of everything I love about music. But just every fucking musician and people that weren't even musicians. It's gotten to the point where me and my buddies joke every single time someone famous dies, not even a musician at this point, that we're like, well, here comes the fucking CKN video saying, guys, this is a dismal day, this person is dead, and give me money.
Ladies and gentlemen, whether you are a member of the Coverkillernation or not, I have the unfortunate duty of delivering some news that many of you probably already know.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't really matter.
It's like, what the fuck you doing, dude? If you're gonna do this panderous shit, just demonetize it already. Stop giving us this merry-go-round of bullshit, because I've already won, motherfucker. Despite you trying to justify your shitty actions and your fan base of retards defending it and donating to your ass, I still got your ass saying subscribe to the Downfall Network. So look who's laughing now, bitch.
Subscribe to the Downfall Network.
And there's so much more when it comes to pandering and making money off of shit that he shouldn't. He's been doing a lot of these cancer fundraising streams. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but the fact that he's monetizing and making money off of musicians and people that die is kind of questionable if his money that he's raising is really going towards stuff like that. I mean, he's never really expressed too much where this money is gonna go. It just seems odd that CKN would do stuff like this. And he's already given his soul to the whole, let's make money off of fucking Patreon, even though I'm already making money off of ads and I already have a job. Which makes me really question this whole cancer fundraising stuff. I know it sounds douchey. And Mark, if you are actually donating to cancer, I apologize 100%, and I will say, on the surface level, he is doing a fantastic thing, and that is great. But I'm saying, you should be a little bit more transparent about it, in my opinion, because if you are, in fact, doing this amazing deed, I kind of want to see more of it. Now, back to the whole RIP thing. One of his biggest offenses was when he shat all over Linkin Park for their horrible album, and this isn't just Coverkillernation, by the way. Everyone shat all over Linkin Park's One More Light because it was a fucking terrible hunk of shit. And then all of a sudden, once he dies, everyone's like, oh, I love Chester Bennington. Oh, I love that album. But guess what? CKN hated that album and he shat all over Chester Bennington. But the second that motherfucker dies in his RIP video, he defends that album. What the fuck is that?
Especially the fact that their most recent album, One More Light, was a very soft and almost melancholy affair that didn't resemble what the band was able to present on an album such as The Hunting Party, which had preceded it. And it shows, once again, another side of not only the band but Chester himself. This is an album that now almost feels like a swan song, a farewell, even though this was all something that was written and really near its release prior to the death of Bennington's good friend Chris Cornell. Linkin Park did not make a rock album. They didn't make a metal album. This is Linkin Park's pop album. This is Linkin Park's Pop of This Age album. This is Linkin Park's Let's See If We Can't Get On Now 63 album. Chester, stop being a goddamn diva. People are going to say what they want about your album the same way you're going to say what you want about people. But the minute that you acknowledge that this stuff bothers you, the minute that you acknowledge that you want to punch people in the face that say that you sold out, perhaps will cause the creeping idea in these people's minds that you actually did. It's just that same way that if you poke a murderer long enough, there's a good chance that they're going to show their true colors.
Now we reach the final main section of our Coverkillernation video, and this is, of course, the influence. and his massive amounts of influence on other music reviewers, because there's been so many people that have come out after him. Some of them that were inspired by him that actually did good, because they're like, wow, I could do so much better than this fucker. But those people that do that are a rare breed on YouTube that aren't kids or retards, you know? But most kids and retards on YouTube that follow Coverkillernation are just going to sit here and make horrible videos. With him constantly setting this low standard, any old dumbass thinks, hey, I can do that. And now we have a sea of horrible content. Because of his laziness to evolve, anyone thinks they could just do whatever he does in a review and not be inspired to evolve like they should have, or try to outdo him, which is a major problem. This is causing massive stagnation in the music reviewing community, causing many people to say that there is no evolution in the community, it's just dead. But that's honestly not the truth. There's so many others that have actually pushed the envelope but get no credit for it or no notice. And because of this Spurg Lord being our Lord and Savior of the music reviewing community, we are never, ever, unless we can dethrone him, be as popular as the movie or game reviewing communities. Now, to be honest, from my experiences of trolling the guy to the ends of the earth, I have, for the most part, taken note that Mark seems to be a pretty nice guy. In all my encounters with him, except for maybe me attacking him for the RIP stuff, otherwise, even when trolling him, he seems to be nice and have a good sense of humor. And for the most part, he is very, very good with his fans. And in a lot of these situations, maybe he's not trying to make money off of these or something like that, or maybe he is delusional in thinking that there's nothing wrong with making money off the RIP videos, but it kind of seems like his heart is in the right place. That's why I really, really hope that he sees this video, because this is not me trying to, you know, throw a bunch of shade his way or just fucking get everyone to be like, haha, you just got roasted, bitch. No, I want Mark to just be like, you know, receiving this as constructive criticism, because I really think that he should improve. I think that he should make his channel amazing. And I think he should stop doing these stuff that's pretty questionable, because he does seem like overall a good guy, and he should keep that reputation going. He's charismatic. He's pretty funny for the most part when he's not aping the angry video game nerd, but he can do a lot better, and he's being very lazy. Because of his laziness and unwillingness to use his influence and power to innovate, we have a nation, a cover killer nation of kids and retards that we will have to review.
So that is it for us reviewing the Coverkillernation Mark. Like I said, I do believe strongly, even though he has inspired so many in the most negative of lazy ways, he can undo his problem by being simply less lazy, putting more effort, and hopefully the Coverkillernation can become one of the greatest YouTubers known to man. And he has the ability to do so. Hopefully he can do it. But until then, thank you again for watching the reviewers reviewed. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to carry on with this. My God! What is that? It is a piece of hair that has fallen from my head! No, no, my eyes are becoming disgusting! My hair is feathering! No!
Nation, let me preface this by saying, this is a channel review.
Subscribe to the Downfall Network.